what everyone forgets, and the senator knows and is angry about as well. I want to remind everybody that the reason why there were UN observers in there is that the United Nations went in and disarmed. Not only did we fail to allow the Bosnian government to get arms, the arms that existed, we went into Srebrenica, the UN, with our support, and disarmed the Bosnian government, disarmed the Muslims, disarmed the Croats in return for a promise that we would protect them. And when, in fact, it was clear and the Dutch called in for airstrikes by NATO, Mr. Akachi said no. And so I want everybody to remember what the senator is saying here, the senator from Arizona. Not only did we not protect, we affirmatively, the United Nations and the West, affirmatively disarmed those safe areas, took their weapons and said, we promise you in return, we will keep the Serbs from the door. They knocked on the door, knocked it down, and there was nothing there for them to defend themselves with. And now, as the senator from Arizona says, they stand by and watch. And it is not the fault of those Dutch blue helmets. It is the fault of the contact group. It is the fault of the West for failing to intervene at a minimum with air power, significant air power. But I think it is apt, the senator is absolutely correct. This is an atrocity. We should lift the embargo immediately. We should send in, make available what under the law the president is allowed to do. 2 years ago, this Senate and Congress passed a piece of legislation authorizing the president at his discretion to make available up to $50 million worth of weapons off the shelf now for those people. I stood in Tuzla the last time this happened and watched trucks come in to Tuzla loaded with women and children. And I thought they were celebrating when I first saw them because they were holding up children in these dump trucks above their heads. And as they unloaded the dump trucks, I understood why the children were being held above their heads and held outside of the dump truck. You know why, Mr. President? Because when they opened the gate and got out, there were 3 children smothered to death in the bottom of those 1995 versions of cattle cars being dragged in to Auschwitz. If these were not Muslims, the world would be reacting. Just like if it were not Jews in the 30s, the world would react. Shame on the West.
European policy is based on cultural and religious indifference, if not bigotry. And I think it's fair to say that this would be an entirely different situation if the Muslims were doing what the Serbs had done, if this was Muslim aggression instead of Serbian aggression.